Welcome to a workshop between the road committee, the road commissioners, and the select board of the town of Acton. I'm going to turn it over to Elise. She's got most all the information, and take it from there.
Okay. So, being the select person for 2 years now, I've just received, or not just received, but I now have in our hands the 2017 bridge reports, in addition to a booklet maintaining local bridges and minor spans and big culverts. So having it all together, I thought we could open the conversation with David and Scott, our road commissioners, to see where we're at with maintaining. I couldn't help but notice, but bridges have been on our agenda for a little while at the selectmen's meeting, but reading the reports, it seems as though we should have a conversation about what sort of repairs they need and what kind of money we're looking at, and going over the minor bridge maintenance checklist and see what sort of things are being done on the three bridges that are in question, being Canal, West Shore, and Row. Should we pick a bridge and start there?
I on the Row Bridge,
okay.
Like this year, Milton swept it this year. Usually we do it, but they got to it before we did. I've got a crew going down here in another week or two. I'm going to do some brush removal and some cutting down there. I've got a call into the to a guardrail company that I use for small stuff. And we're going to redo that guardrail, and we're probably going to disconnect it from the bridge and start having it hooked to it like it is now, and replace that. And I still have to get with Jen there about the bid process, setting something up for the bid. And other than that, we weren't going to get too crazy. I don't want to fix anything, cover up anything that this engineer can look at. You know, I don't want to, put bandages all over and then have him guess what we did. So, I'm going to be working on that as soon as possible. The canal, I've done nothing. Nothing on the canal bridge because, as far as I was told, it was New Hampshire's bridge.
Does that mean we don't care for the...
Well, why would you care for something that's not yours?
Well,
not the bridge per se, but the
coming up to it,
Yeah.
The approach.
Oh, coming up to
the
it.
approach,
Yeah.
clearing brush.
Yeah,
Any-
that's just general maintenance that we
Is
don't.
that something you do this
Yeah,
year?
yeah.
I noticed the guardrails were already fixed from,
Yeah,
New Hampshire did it.
New Hampshire beat it up, and they fixed it,
yeah.
so.
So does New Hampshire own that bridge?
That's what we're in the middle of trying to find out.
Okay.
Put a call in to Pam Wigan. She was away, but her son Wayne said that he'd make sure that she got a hold of me.
Oh, good.
Just I haven't heard from her
Well,
yet,
when
but
you
I...
got the deeds, you can read them, and you can walk them. And you're gonna see that New Hampshire owns across the canal. Once it hits our side of the canal, it's our responsibility. Where their original plan included a span, it will include a large abutment on our side that we'll be responsible for. So our costs are probably going to come to about 25% of the bridge. We have to widen the approach, and I would guess that whatever they come up with, we're going to have a 25% cost, because once it hits there.
But they own the bridge. So you're saying New Hampshire owns the bridge?
Yes.
Until it crosses, right now, until it crosses, once it hits.
In other words, it's not a case of
It's not a
the town's
They own
not
the
split in
whole
the center of the
bridge.
water. It's
No.
they own right to our property on that
It
side.
doesn't make any sense that if they own the bridge and then they decide to design something to go onto our side, that we would have to pay for that.
Well, I think that when you design the bridge, don't you have to do the approaches on both
Downstairs.
sides?
No, the approach
I
is,
think
that's a
what
different
you're-
story.
That's what she's
that's
talking
what I'm
The
saying.
approach, oh,
But
well,
the
the
approach
20,
is
that,
gonna-
the approach isn't gonna
approach
be,
is probably gonna include a big abutment there, where they're gonna span it, as opposed to trying to put any weight on those rocks. That was the original plan.
yeah, I mean, it still doesn't make any sense that they would do that if they own the bridge and we still have to pay into it. That's an occurring cost to us that I mean, I would think they could design something else. If it's theirs, they should be paying for it.
I
We
agree.
should-
Well,
That
that's
doesn't
not
make it,
the-
doesn't, it
that's
doesn't make
not-
any sense to me
Well,
at
I know,
all.
it
Waiting
just-
to-
Yeah, but
also
wait.
here too,
The other
so
thing
instead of
is-
getting
Right,
into
it
it, I
doesn't
mean,
make
we
any
don't
sense
have
for,
answers
to
yet.
town of Acton, if they want to design this super duper bridge, and it goes up 200 feet onto our land per se, why do we have to pay for that $200? Because they're coming up with this
Well,
hot rod engineered plan that
Well, we'll
rolls
have to,
over
we'll
on
have to
our
see how
land.
that all plays out,
Right,
but,
I mean,
But
that's
the
just-
approach, I understand the approach is
Yeah,
gonna have to
but
be
one
done,
other
and
thing
that's,
you've got to understand is the state of Maine has made an error in their records. They are calling it 50% our bridge. That is not true.
okay,
We
that's
do
good
not
news.
all have
that is good news,
And
yeah.
that's got to be corrected with the DOT. Now, I understand you're close with Ben Foster. You might want to get him those deeds so that he can look at it.
Well, I think, I was just talking to Elise, didn't you just say that the engineer from Wakefield will be talking, in touch with, the main engineer, which is Ben?
Yeah.
Okay, they're already gonna be in touch, so I'm sure they're gonna be, they're trying to figure that out now. They're trying to figure out the ownership part of it right now already,
I did
so,
forward those deeds, so
Oh, good.
Chris Fournier of the engineering firm has those deeds.
yeah,
As
so
well
they're
as the
already
town
working on that
administrator.
then, I'm sure.
And they were supposed to meet on Friday, and I will get in touch with them to see what they found.
Yeah, but the approach to the bridge, that's not an issue, that's already budgeted, the way I look at it. When that comes to us, obviously what I'm gonna need is for Wakefield to give me a heads up so that I can plan on it. Obviously if they can, they're not just gonna say, oh, we're gonna build a bridge today. I'm sure there's gonna be some notice, cause they're gonna shut the bridge down, and we're gonna all,
You're gonna close it.
yeah.
It could be imminent.
yeah, but, what do you mean?
It could be imminent by the report, that was, you got it in the Wakefield paper.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That,
that's the thing.
it's a very, they say a very slight thing.
yeah.
And and we've got a plan.
Yeah, I got into that too, but, so typically, before they go shutting it down, usually there's something posted so people don't
Yeah.
use that route. But when it comes to the point when they're gonna actually start doing, bridge repair, as long as I've got a 6 or 7 month heads up, that way there I can reformulate my budget, or if it works, I could put it into my new budget or whatever, because I highly doubt they'll start this year. Okay, then I will be covered with that, because you're only talking, they would have to raise that elevation, that bridge a lot to make the span, where I'm gonna have to do a lot.
I don't think the original one looked for a huge deal. 'cause
Well,
they
if
don't
they're,
want
if they're gonna span the original one, they're gonna elevate the ground, and I have to match into it, and that's all I've gotta do, so it's not gonna be a big deal for us, it's actually small potatoes.
When you say span, are they just building over what's there?
Yeah,
Is that
that's
what you're talking
what-
Well, they're not really putting any weight on it.
about? Okay, that's what I was just,
Putting the
yeah,
weight on the abutments on the outer side.
okay, but
It's a lot like
it's
the
just
stream
leaving.
crossings that they're doing.
Yeah, so, other than that, like I
I
said,
think they would give you a heads up.
yeah,
because
we're gonna get a
you've
heads
gotta
up,
be
I'm sure.
Yeah, they
involved.
would.
I mean,
Be at
and
all their meetings over
Yeah.
there, somebody's gotta be at
Gotta
every
be there.
meeting. to
Yeah.
cover us.
they have a new town administrator too, so, that's a,
I don't believe that, they're, I mean, if they say they've got ownership from, of the bridge, they've got rights to the area they've got, we may have to give, I would think we may have to give them an easement to dig on the Acton side to make the bridge, so they can get on the other side of that, the original bridge, so we may have to give them an easement, which is, to us, that's great. I mean, if we can get
Best
away
case
with it,
scenario.
just doing an easement on the bridge abutment itself, and then we take care of the entrance, the approach to it, then, I mean, we'll be styling then.
okay.
Good.
All right, to be
So
taken
going
care of
back
after the
to
easement.
Yeah,
Row real quick.
we'll even give one the turnaround.
I had something on Row too.
So going back to Row real quick, you were talking about not doing any Band-Aids until the engineer got to see what
Yeah,
was there
I don't wanna
first.
go and start patching up spots where the rebar is showing and all that, so they can inspect what's the real issues is, you don't wanna, it's like going to the doctors with a cast on and say, I got a broken arm, they can't see nothing, you know what I mean? So, that's my plan right now, so right now, we just plan on doing the general maintenance, cutting around, do this and that, I may go down, there's a piece of rebar sticking out, and get rid of that. You know, make that so it's not a hazard at this point. But I don't wanna do too much superficial stuff to it, so they can't actually eyeball and see what the issues are.
Do we have a time frame?
Well,
Or
we
we
got,
still waiting?
we gotta get the bids out.
Okay.
We gotta get the bids out, we gotta,
You don't want anybody crawling around that until it's cut down right.
Right.
Right now, you've got
Crawl
punji
around.
stakes when you try to crawl down at the road dam. That's hard to get down because they were cut off, probably with a chainsaw or something.
Yeah.
The larger brush. You don't want this guy tripping and being impaled next to
Wait, I'm sure he's been around that stuff
Yeah,
before.
What do you get?
Well,
I'm
yeah,
sure-
well, nonetheless, you don't see
We gotta manicure our bridges now,
it.
so nobody can get hurt.
You can't see it.
I'll have my
Shouldn't be
guys
walking
clip them
around, those
off.
people shouldn't be
He'll be
walking
used to
around
going in there
anyways.
and looking at
Good
it, so.
deterrent. It's like a spike
Can you
man.
just explain one more time about the guardrail? Right now, it's attached to the bridge and you're going
I
to
had it
unattach it?
attached to the bridge because what's happening is over time and time, cars are going through the corner and that was the only really good thing at the time we had to hook to without actually getting in there and doing some, setting some concrete in the ground, something that's stable enough to go. Because we didn't want to start driving stuff next to the abutments without, we don't want to create any more harm than we have to. So what we believe what we're going to do is we're going to set off a few feet off from it and do some sort of a steel post driven, either have them drive them or we can do something in concrete. But I want to detach it from the bridge. At the time it worked, but the problem is they keep running into the thing and I don't think it's helping the bridge out itself, so.
The concrete piece that was
Yeah,
broken
I
and
know.
knocked off should be hauled out also. And there's a tree hanging on the wires there that before it is.
That's a pier, is it New Hampshire or Maine? We had this discussion.
It's our tree.
What do you mean
But it's-
ours?
But it's not
Maine?
on our property, but it's dead.
The
That's
trees in New
fair
Hampshire,
point.
the trees in the New Hampshire side, yeah.
There's
Over
a
Maine?
tree on the Maine side doing it too.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's-
So it's
And
a
it's Fairpoint. It's not a danger with the power lines, which is why I checked into
Okay.
it. It's not a danger with that, but it's going to drop.
Is it right near the bridge?
Yeah, all you have to just
look at
take a
it
look
tonight.
up when you ride over, you'll see. And something should be addressed about that. It's not gonna sit there forever, and especially if you start working around it.
It'll come down.
Because I know we
Yeah.
I guess it was New Hampshire. There was one in New
Yeah.
Hampshire that was hanging
Yeah,
towards Maine,
that's the
right?
one,
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's why we
Where's the
haven't
butt of
touched
it?
it.
Is the butt of it
well, we
in
got
New
one in
Hampshire?
each, I think.
Okay, so there could be a couple.
I'm not going into Hampshire and cutting somebody's tree,
Well, no,
it's somebody
you're not
else's
supposed
property,
to.
that's why it hasn't gone yet,
But,
so.
And it's
something-
not, it's
It's-
not on our property either in our
No,
easement,
it's
right?
sitting in New Hampshire on somebody's,
Yeah.
in their doya, they own that, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not taking it upon myself to go into somebody else's doya, kinda like what happened when the Bureau of Dams came over and started taking all the trees down, you remember that?
No, but,
No,
okay.
I'll explain it to you. Bureau of Dams came and they started taking those big, remember that beautiful maple tree that used to be right next to the dam? Yeah, I got the phone calls, you're taking my trees down, and it wasn't me. And, it was Bureau of Dams, they were taking the trees away from the abutment next to the dam. And, and that's why they didn't get the ones on the other side, because those people wouldn't let them do it. So,
Yeah.
but.
I mean, if it's not in
I'm
our right of way.
concentrating on
we
what's
don't-
in Maine,
Yeah,
what I'm allowed to do. I'm not gonna go beyond my jurisdiction and do anything else.
So if this bridge didn't need further engineering work, when concrete comes off like that, you just go and patch it?
Well, it's more than just patching, you're gonna have to chip it out, reform it and all that.
That's a job for a mason.
Yeah, that's because
Yeah.
George Murray did
Pat
that. I
Stevens
think
or-
the last person that did it.
I mean,
was
we
George.
having a meeting with Cindy, I'm sorry, but I thought we was talking with you. I really don't wanna
We're all
hear
talk-
everything you have to
we're
say
all
about
talking
bridges and
together here.
roads.
It's a workshop.
I
workshop,
know, but I don't wanna be,
It's-
I'm not gonna be here all night.
Well, I mean, I'm just telling you how I do it, and I get
Yeah.
told, no, that's a mason's job. Well, I deal with concrete and stuff all the time,
Yeah.
but, I mean, if I'm not qualified to do it, just let me know, I won't do
No,
it.
that's up to our road,
Fund a mason.
that's up to our road commission is to do it best they can. If they wanna hire a mason, if they can do it themselves.
I probably would.
It's up to them.
Just for the simple reason is,
Yeah.
that's something that
Time.
I'd rather don't have time for.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, yeah,
but I'm gonna put the best person in the position to fix that part of the bridge that needs to be done. If I have to call, the guy that used to work for these guys, but Reed and Reed and all those guys, whatever.
Yeah.
Bridgecorp, that's what I'll call, but normally in this situation, if I get to something that I don't believe that is in my expertise, okay, which I don't think there's anybody here that's got bridge expertise, and I would call Ben Foster and he would give me some recommendations, and that's how I roll.
Okay.
I'll only do something that I believe that I'm qualified to do.
Yep. No, and that's what I'd expect. You're given the project, you do it
Well, that's what I was elected to do.
either to your best of ability, or you bring in the people that you feel are qualified to do it, so.
All right, so in my opinion, I feel like Road Bridge is on a good course. So you get the ad in the paper.
Jen's gonna take care of that, add in the
Yep.
paper. I don't know if she's gonna do anything on the website, putting on the TV channel probably can help out a whole lot, but there are some sites, I had them written down that we could go on and put those advertisements on for stuff like this.
Yep.
Commercial,
Maybe you
excavation
could give
stuff.
them to her.
Yeah.
Just a,
Yeah.
I was hoping that, we could also kind of try to do like a New Hampshire and a Maine as far as, not just, picking people in Maine to.
Oh, no,
You know
no.
what I'm saying, whoever's qualified is it.
So advertise in New Hampshire as
Yeah, I
well.
had said to her,
Yeah.
maybe you could do, and because you've got somebody, whoever's working on the canal bridge, I mean, they're in the area, I have no idea. I'm just saying, maybe there's somebody you like better in New Hampshire.
No,
than-
it's not me anyways.
You know,
But the thing is
I don't know anything
what I
about it.
originally did was Ben Foster gave me these numbers of
Right.
people to call.
Yeah.
These were preferred by the state of Maine.
But we are not allowed to just go.
No, we can, but I want to make sure that, same thing we do with our paving. We send out to
We do you three.
FR,
Yep.
Pike, Dayton, I think Libby Scott, and then we still put it out in the paper. But I would like to have these three companies that the state recommends, I at least want to make sure they get the memo. Okay, because the problem is they may not get the memo, so I don't want to say it's
There's no
preferred
problem with
treatment,
that.
but they're,
Yeah, no.
they're recommended. So I want to do the same thing we do with our paving and our salt. Those are the recommended ones, so that's ones we put out to personally, and then we
Do
post
more.
out to everybody else. Whoever, if somebody else, sees the ad, comes in and they impress us and their price is right, because at the same time, we got to make sure that when we get our bids in, the bid, we're getting apples and apples, oranges and oranges, and, we want to make sure that these people that are doing it aren't just some backyard bridge building, whatever, so, so there's a lot to it, but I still just want to make sure that at least those three companies that the state recommended get the
Let them know that we're.
get the
looking.
letter, at least get a letter.
Okay.
All right, so, we'll just go over Canal real quick again. I'm going to reach out to the engineer, and ask him to come to us in September.
Yep.
To give us an update on what they have found between meeting with Maine, New Hampshire on Friday, and then they have other stuff going on at the end of August. So instead of doing it in a piecemeal, I'll invite him to do, collaborate on the two meetings and projects that they're doing.
That'd be good.
But in the meantime, any other minor maintenance or whatever will be done so that,
Do we
like you
wanna
said, there's
talk
not
about
much on
West Shore?
Yeah,
the
that's
canal
about
side to
what
do.
We could do.
I was gonna say, do we want to talk about West Shore?
Yes,
Do we have any questions
that was the
about-
next one. So West Shore we visited on Friday,
Friday.
which I didn't even know West Shore was on our list of bridges.
Well,
Thanks
it's
to
not
Joyce,
really a
brought it up.
bridge, it's a culvert. I mean.
Yeah, it
it's-
is.
You do know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? It is, it's like,
Listed as a bridge.
yeah, I know.
It's
But-
It
400
gets,
it's a 400 car day count.
Inspected
Yep.
by the main
Size
DOT.
is gotta be so much as a bridge, so.
Yeah.
The state used to own it, the state did it because of the new boat launch. It's
Do they
our,
still?
it's our culvert.
Oh,
I mean, I wouldn't order this as a bridge, it's a culvert.
I'm just thinking it was.
I mean, yes,
Yeah, it was.
No, it's not a squash culvert, it's a round culvert. Yes, it's been in there for 20 years. Yes, it's got some erosion right at the water line. It's got all the rock bags, and all the rocks are all in metal galvanized bags. I inspected all them. They're all pretty good. I cut a lot of the brush last year. I'll probably cut a little bit more this year. There's very little debris on the top as far as sand. We try to clean it up every year. As far as my only other bridge, I know it takes 400 cars a year, but I mean, I've been hearing through the grapevine, people are not liking that there's 2 houses at the end of West Shore Drive going in. But it's only 2 houses, and if, yes, they are going over town land, I'm sure we could write in the easement, if we give them the easement, that the road is never to be a throughway road.
We've
So let's-
already,
That's already been
Right,
hashed
we-
out, and that's
Right,
already
okay,
done.
so that was my opinion on that,
Well
but
done.
in my opinion, 2 more cars on that road isn't gonna hurt it, or 2 more
Well,
houses.
It brought it to my attention to read the report.
Right.
And what I'm seeing is the traffic safety feature, bridge railing, transitions, approach guardrail ends. They don't meet acceptable standards and safety feature is required. So I think
I mean,
there are
think-
things that need to be addressed.
Yeah, I mean,
So like
if you want some new guardrails put up, I'll put some new guardrails. I mean, they got all the nuts and bolts in them, they're not.
Well, a couple of
The
them are
approach,
not
you're
attached.
Not gonna be able to fix
So
the
the
approach.
guardrail's not attached from
Yeah,
being.
one spot. I mean, I used to have to put some bolts in it sometimes every winter. I mean, I
so
do
maybe
check
that's
it.
something to, you know.
What was the other thing I saw?
I mean, I'm saying that bridge is gonna be good for at least
And
another, at
there
least
were
another 10
rocks
years.
coming out at
Not
the
the bridge, though.
bottom at the water level, like close to the culvert.
I think I
itself.
think they've been there forever. That's the way when they started putting the rock blocks, and I call them the metal, all metal boxes, were made out of chicken wire, and they fill them up with rocks. But at the beginning, I checked it. They're not falling out. They're just where they started their base of rocks and built up.
And the state
I mean,
did
there's
that.
a spot where
I don't know.
next door property's fence kind of ties into it, that's kind of falling in, but that's the property owners, because we only
Right,
own like
I
7
wondered
feet.
about that.
Right, we only have like 7 feet on either edge of that road, if that road is in the right of way. Exactly in the right of way, I should
It
say.
isn't as bad as it seems because the strength from the culvert is derived by the compaction on the sides.
Yeah.
And where this has rocks, it's not gonna cave in on you.
All right,
So-
Did a good job
Rocks are
when they
only
built
no
it.
side,
Here's
but
my
yeah.
question, Scott. That it says the culvert is in poor but serviceable condition. How do you service
well,
a
you could
culvert
service,
like
you could
that?
have it slip lined. I mean, that's reasonable, quick, easy, but expensive.
Can't slip line that though,
What's-
because boy, you
I don't know
got
what that
access for
is.
the boats going through.
Well, I mean, it depends on what liner they put in.
That line, yeah.
I mean, they could just put a 2-inch liner, in. They only lose 2 inches
Just-
all the way around it. Yeah, they'll come in, they'll form it, and then they'll pressurize the concrete, and then they'll take out their form.
Does that last a while?
Yeah,
Is that
I'm
just-
sure it'd be a longevity. Bernie did one years ago. They lined it with a plastic. They serviced it, they actually lined it with plastic. But that's something that could be done there, or the culvert can be replaced. That'd be just, it'd be
Maybe
at
the
least a couple-day
guardrails.
job, but, you'd have to work fast.
Quite a bit of money.
Yeah, and a lot of money.
That'd be
Yeah.
something
Well,
you-
I mean,
I mean, I would definitely slip line it before, that would do longevity of a long time.
I don't even know why the town of Acton's even responsible for that culvert.
that's
State
what I was just
of
saying.
Maine
State
owns the
put it
water, right? They own both
It's not
sides of the
us.
water.
Give it to us.
So
Oh,
there-
I know that, but I'm just saying, I know
we
that,
accept
Cindy.
that?
I'm just saying,
Did we
state of
accept
Maine
it?
owns both sides of it. You'd think they'd own the bridge.
No, they gave
We
us,
got the boat launch on the other side.
Okay, so that's what was the
Yeah.
trade-off, okay.
But somebody should be looking into what grant money is available and what has come through the DOT. That money has been released apparently.
Are we talking
and
about
We should be looking
Courtney?
at grants. Somebody needs to be looking at grant money that's available for stream crossings, which we might qualify for, and whatever else. I think the governor just signed it about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and released that big bond issue we voted on last fall.
I think you gave me a folder with information on grants, like a trifold.
I
On
think
how
it
to
was
apply for
maybe Arnie
grants.
or-
I'll have to pull
I don't
that out
know,
again.
But we should be looking, anytime we're near the water, let's look for the free money first. And with that one where it's a round culvert, they don't even want you to put in big round culverts like that anymore. They like the stream crossing approach better.
What is?
well, that state
every
put it
re-
in back then, so.
What would, I
It's
mean,
just like, I
20
mean,
years
next
later,
week,
they
next,
change it.
next year it'll be like, they like the round ones, they don't like the flat ones, they erode out
The,
quicker.
the difference between this culvert, and I've done all this stuff on the stream crossings,
is this culvert's embedded in 4 feet of water. They're talking about culverts there that seasonal, in and out. They just wanna be able to make sure aquatics can get through and all that. This culvert here is embedded in 4 feet of water year round. So that doesn't even qualify. They would do the same thing. They're still putting in round culverts. They're talking about the small plans, this and that, so aquatics can get through and all that. And, you know, unfortunately, there's spots where you can't do it. You can, but like the Hopper Road, I've heard that we ought to be doing them down there. We can't. Because the problem is, to do it, I'd have to elevate the road 3 feet, you know, to get my coverage and everything. And it just doesn't make sense to just, you know, and all I'm doing is replacing what's there now. If you're putting in a brand-new culvert, you're putting in a new road or whatever, that would be another story. So, but in this situation here, a regular round culvert or a squash culvert's normally what they do in a situation like that, where, you know, you get your width, and you can embed them.
You're looking more at the bottomless culverts.
Yeah, I could see
and the
doing
stream
that.
crossings, and that's a 50 to 75 year length of time.
They're made out of the same
Well,
material as that
culverts.
there.
Yeah,
Well,
that's-
some of them are, it depends on how they do it.
Right,
How
so that
often
one's
they
got
do it.
20 years on it, and I'm seeing it's got at least another 10 in it easily.
Yeah, I would say so.
You know what I mean? So 10 to 15, and I'm
Maybe-
saying right now, if you slip lined it and really lined it, I'm saying you'd probably be about 15 grand tops. So if you wanted to start getting grants and saving 50, you know.
That's another thing, as we're all sitting here talking, you know, there are lots of grants out there. Neither are you grant writers, none of us are grant writers, you guys aren't grant writers. I would think that it would be in our best interest to try to get a grant writer. It doesn't have to be a full-time, but, and I don't know how you guys think about that, but I just,
I mean, if
Because
it's
there's
out there,
other-
it's out there, it's nothing I can
well,
do.
well, that's what I'm saying, but what I'm saying too is, I'm not talking about just for you, there's grants for lots of things.
All kinds of things that we do.
And if we had somebody who knew how to really delve into it, I just,
That's worth looking into.
I mean, I just feel like
Sure.
You know, to
we
meet
keep
with,
talking about it, but none of us really know how to go about doing it, so.
Well, the
I mean,
roads
I
that
don't.
have gotten 319 grants, Abbott Road, Lakeside Drive, Langley Shore, they've learned how to do it on their own.
Right,
And they'd be a good resource to tell you how they did it. Some of them you don't need a pro for.
yeah, some of them are
if you
just
can
easy
fill
to fill it out.
Yeah.
you know, I know some are, some aren't, and that's why I was just saying,
But
it's
yeah.
something I've been thinking about, that, you know, even if it was, you know.
We're gonna find out what money is available
Well, that's
where.
what, yeah,
And I don't know who does that. That could be something that comes through the
That
planning
pamphlet I
board
saw will
because
tell
they
you,
see-
directs you in the, it'll point you in the direction that pamphlet I was looking at.
What would the planning
Right.
board have to do with the roads?
Nothing.
Grants.
Well, down on the
Nothing.
road bridge, they're probably gonna have something to do with it if you.
For what?
get- Well, because you're gonna probably wind up to, well, I think that they should be involved in warrant and finance also.
But
But
the
you're
bridge,
going to have to redesign that, the way it comes off. It was meant to go up
so what's the
over-
planning board have to do with that?
Well, they do land use, and you're gonna run into
They have
land
absolutely
use
nothing to do
problems
with the
if you
roads.
design it.
They have absolutely
You're
nothing to do with the
familiar
roads.
with the
The
laws
designer or
involved in
the
that.
engineer is gonna tell us how it needs to be done, and
The
that's,
planning board has
Right,
absolutely
and that's
nothing to
Planning
do
gonna
with it.
Step down, it's not gonna be
Yeah.
sitting down in the same place with the new bridge.
we don't know that.
Well, that's what they get to the engineer and the engineered plan.
Cindy, when
We
the
don't- we don't
engineer,
know
that's why
that.
we got an engineer gonna work on this.
Yeah.
They're smarter than we are.
Yeah.
And the planning board has nothing to do with this. They're doing the development and whatever. They have nothing to do with our town roads.
Well, they
And-
should be included.
Well, that's your opinion, and I'm glad you think that way, but that's not the way it works. Their job is for development, land use. The roads are not included in that, and never was, okay? And we don't need another, we already got the road committee in the mix. We got selectmen's, all we need is somebody else to tell us how to do our job.
Gotta agree with you, Dave.
What?
I agree with you, 100%, yeah.
I mean, how many more, why don't we,
Yeah, no,
why don't
we
we
need
get
to-
into the
yeah.
forestry committee, because we
Yeah,
might
no,
cut a tree down.
We've got enough in there, so if we can't figure out between these three groups, then, yeah.
That's the problem.
See what the
So we
engineer,
have, we're
I think
getting,
we
we
need-
get
we're
off
getting
in
ahead of
tangents.
ourselves,
Yeah,
too.
we're
I
getting
think
way
we need
ahead
to
of
see what the
ourselves, so-
engineer says first,
like the
and
road,
what-
the road bridge, you get, that's one we're working on the engineer, getting the
Yep.
engineering company in to look at, so that one's,
We
That
need
one's
to go
off
to-
that one's off being worked on. As soon as we know what's going on there, we'll come back.
So, in the
Yes.
I think the only thing we need to do is wrap up West Shore, and you're gonna,
I'll
Tend
check
to-
for bolts and I'll,
you check
I was
that?
just there yesterday and I was there Friday looking at it, so.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, it's 20 years old. Yes, it's got some erosion to it, but I think it's got a long longevity to it. And I think the quickest way to fix it, to get a lot longer of it, would be a slip line. Be the easiest quick
New
fix,
rails,
and you
a
wouldn't
new
have to
rail.
shut off the road, you
new
wouldn't, you know.
guardrails.
But, you know, at
And
the
new
same time,
guardrails.
We
if
do,
you think
you
you can
know.
get 30 years out of it, if, just my opinion, I wouldn't even spend the money on this,
Well,
slip
I mean,
line,
yeah,
because
I
if
mean,
you get
that's
another
time to
10
see-
years, if you get another 10 years
To see how
out
long
of
you actually get at
it,
it.
then, you know, at that point, just change it out, so you get another
Let's go.
30, 40 years, you know?
Right, just change the color
But, on the little, just in case somebody might think it's a bridge, there's a culvert down here on the Sanborn Road. It's got a broken guardrail again, that will be replaced here shortly.
Good.
I think we're gonna get rid of we won't be able to call it the little white bridge anymore. I think I'm gonna put real guardrails there because
Just paint them white.
I could do that, but the plow guys hit it and break it, so I'm gonna get rid of that problem. Hit it with a wing on the way by.
Must be too close to the road.
Car comes, lack of sleep, I don't know, I'm not making excuses, but it's gonna get fixed. All it is 6x6 right now, piece of pressure treated, and when you get to the middle of it, you hit it just right, it just snaps it, so.
For a sec. So just
I don't believe it's on the list of bridges.
No.
this
I'm
is,
just being a smarty.
no, it's not. This is just maintenance checklist. I just want to look at.
So these are the only the only bridges we get inspections on from the state?
I got
No, we
balls.
get inspections, well, actually, you can get them on all 10 bridges in town. The fourth bridge that we're
10.
responsible for halfway is Shady Nook Bridge. I
That
didn't
was-
see that come through, that's new.
What bridges are we talking, 10 bridges?
Shady Nook, we're responsible for 50%.
Well, you're talking about the Acton Line Bulge.
But
Yeah,
that's,
well, we're responsible half for it. It's brand new.
Yeah, half of it.
Oh, it's brand new?
So that's
Yeah,
why.
so we're not
Right.
worried
Was
about,
it
5 years
the
old.
3 that had problems were brought up to
Yeah.
you.
oh,
okay. I'd say we stick with these three for now. Let's not get overwhelmed here.
What, maybe I'm missing some bridges. What bridges are we talking?
What do you got for
Well,
bridges?
We
Go
consider,
down
it
the-
must be some
go
big
down the
culvert
line.
somewhere that you consider it a bridge.
have you seen
Probably the Milton Mills
reports on all
Road
10 of them?
Well, yeah, but those are state. I'm talking about bridges. we
Yeah,
Why
actually
wouldn't they
work.
send them to
Right up.
us?
Just,
Well, they're available online.
Oh, yeah,
But
there's
not,
four right
they only
there.
send them to
Yeah,
us
'cause you
if
got
there's
the
an
two-
issue?
2 there,
No,
3,
like,
4.
Because we've gotten
Well,
emails.
you read the letter that came with this.
Five,
The front-
six,
the
seven,
cover
8.
letter on the
The other
3
two.
bridges
Well, I'm
tells
missing
you
2.
what they want you to
You'll be
do.
down the bottom of the hill here going
And,
to the dump.
they've noticed we've done no
That's a
maintenance.
bridge now.
It's so long.
Look at it, you don't
Probably they're gonna wish there was a small bridge there
That's not
instead of a
right.
frickin' excavating. It's gonna cost to
If you
fix
look
that
on the
one.
That's gonna
website,
suck.
That's a big dig.
on the state website, it'll show you the 10. Somebody ought to be looking at, or.
Dig down as far as you can go, put the culvert there and let it rise up to it.
Yeah, make a pond deeper.
Chewed up,
Yeah.
French Street over that.
Yeah.
That's a state bridge, though. right?
Yeah,
It is a
But
state bridge, but somebody should be on it, say, on our representative saying, can you push it, what can you do, help us?
Okay.
That's,
Because they're
It-
wrecking
This
French
week
Street.
in-
They're
We're
ruining
we're talking
French
about,
Street.
we're talking about the,
Milton Mills Bridge.
yeah, both of them, yeah, what about them?
They're not ours.
Oh, I know that,
We were just saying
Well,
how it's
the
beating.
one
the
coming
French Street.
down Milton Mills Road.
yeah.
If you walk down the deck and look down through there,
Yeah, I drive over and I go like this, because it's all sinking in.
well, if you get
So-
out between the Jersey.
I'm not inspecting somebody else's job. I got enough stuff to
But
inspect.
Somebody should be saying, when's it going to happen? Can
Well,
I
they're gonna,
push
they're
that?
gonna shortly here
Didn't
when I
they just
post
get the
French
bridge
Street.
reports?
So,
Well, that's what I was gonna
Didn't they just give the bridge reports?
they've already got, they're already working on it. And I was,
Three bridges, that's all we.
yeah, because that's
Right.
really the only
That's all
ones
we're
we have to
talking
worry about, so
about, right.
I'm not gonna, but the Milton Mills Road Bridge, I mean, I'm hearing that they're getting right on this, I mean, ASAP, and
What, oh, so they are gonna do.
that's
some
what
work
I'm
on it?
hearing, and plus, we're talking roads and bridges and stuff, I guess, but I mean, we're gonna have an issue with that bridge for the simple reason is I'm gonna start posting a couple roads, and I've gotta post French Street, because of them shutting that bridge down, it's forcing them down French Street, and I'm getting tractor trailers coming up French Street.
Right.
That's what she was
And-
saying, it's just making, yeah.
And, so I'm gonna have to post that, and I'm thinking about posting County and Sanborn, because they're using those to get around, cut across, and when they've got alternate routes like 109 that way, 109 to Wakefield, and 153 across.
And 109 next year is supposed to have major reconstruction
Where?
from Giancola's, where Sam Page all the way to the state line.
Yeah.
You
They're
mean when they just
scheduled-
paved?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. If you look at their,
I wanna
if
do
you
things
look at
just
their
like the state.
schedule, it's been pushed off and pushed off. Right now, their schedule
Yeah, it's gonna
says
get pushed off again.
2019 to
Watch, it's gonna get
2020,
pushed off again,
major
guarantee ya.
reconstruction.
They did their major
Yeah,
reconstruction
they'll
for a
probably
few
kick that
years.
out now.
They
but
just push that off 10 years.
Yeah.
That's usually when they do the skinny
Yeah.
mix every 10 years.
Yeah.
That
So-
wasn't don't they call
Someone
that a
would get
skim
fired
coat
if they
though?
did that.
It wasn't
yeah,
like,
it's just
they
skimmed, they
didn't,
just skimmed us on Fox's
they didn't even
Ridge
fix
Road, too.
anything
Why not?
underneath.
I mean,
Yeah.
I figure I'll be
Band-Aid.
tearing up most of,
do you have any questions, Jerry? You're so quiet.
No, I
You sure?
don't.
Okay, just thought I'd ask.
Anybody else have any more questions?
Anything else on this?
No,
We've covered them all?
thank you for coming.
You got
You're
one?
welcome.
We all set with the
Do you have
meeting
one of
then?
these?
yeah, I got
Yes.
the booklet. Yeah.
Okay,
What is it? Which book is
Where
it?
you
guess we'll
going?
call the meeting. Well done.
Oh,